Well, it's been a torrid afternoon for this minister, buffeted from all sides as her rudderless, ambiguous, half-baked scheme has been dissected and dismantled. And if a picture paints 1,000 words, just look at the empty seats and the empty rows surrounding her. Her SNP partners have abandoned her rather than be associated with this scheme. Indeed, only one MSP from her own party could sit through this afternoon to support her. But it's not surprising that they don't want to associate themselves with this scheme in its current form. Brian Whittle said, and this afternoon's debate has proved him right, this is a policy that is essential to our net zero targets, where the premise of the policy is universally accepted in this Parliament, in the UK Parliament, across industry and to the public. The Minister rightly listed why it's so important we get this right, and Colin Smith opened his remarks by openly, expressly supporting a viable scheme. But we have heard that only 7 months out from its latest launch date, a scheme that was first committed to a decade ago and apparently has been worked on since 2019 is not only far from ready, but according to businesses, is unworkable. And my authority for that comes from the Scottish Government's most recently published Gateway Review, which, as Maurice Golden highlighted, concluded that a fully functioning and compliant DRS cannot be in operation for the revised August 2023 schedule. Yes.
Minister.
Thank you. There were two reviews published at the same time, both in December. One covered a period from May, one covered a period from October. The latest one, that covered the October period, says that it is feasible. The member is citing out-of-date information.
Liam Kerr.
In fact, I'm citing the most recently published one, as the Minister has been told repeatedly this afternoon. And why is this scheme not in operation? Why can't it be? Well, we've heard the Scottish Retail Consortium saying that its members, who must sign up by the 1st of March, remember, still don't have an operational blueprint. We've heard wholesalers are still waiting on a solution for warehouse stock. We've heard producers are still missing key information. Consumers are facing higher costs and reduced choice. For example, estimates of 40p additional per container. The Scottish Wholesale Association warning nearly half of drinks brands could disappear from Scotland. And all that before we even get into the fact that the Scottish Government's own modelling predicts that over 23 million drinks containers will be fraudulently redeemed every year, creating up to £108 million worth of fraud. So many problems, yet the Minister barrels on regardless. She called in her motion for a pragmatic approach working with industry, yet brazenly failed to mention receiving an open letter from more than 600 businesses pleading with the Scottish Government to listen to them. And her pragmatic approach is somewhat exposed by her admission just last week that at no stage did she speak to a single expert operating DRS schemes in other countries such as Holland, such as Germany or Sweden, which has had a scheme since 1984. So when Mark Ruskell or Cowcab Stewart praise other countries in aid, they failed to mention the significant differences between what is proposed and what works. Presiding Officer, solutions are available if the Minister will listen. We've heard them here. And indeed, I was reading earlier this week the Federation of Small Businesses pleading for a pause to this scheme as it says confusion reigns. The Scottish Hospitality Group said last week, this must be stopped and rethought. The only workable way is to pause, rethink, get proper guidance from industry and professionals and join the UK scheme due in 2025. Yes, very brief.
It would have to be very brief, Ms Graham.
Can I ask in the list that he includes the existing glass recycling companies in Scotland who themselves had to seek a meeting with Circularity Scotland as it had not reached out to them?
Liam Kerr.
It's an extremely important point and utterly shocking. Presiding Officer, in terms of solutions, Liam MacArthur also spoke well, saying, why not pause instead of whittling away at the scheme? And Daniel Johnson really got to the nub when he said to simplify and clarify. And members have added to that things like extend producer registration, grant small producers a grace period, grant an exemption for producers with low volumes, help producers maintain cash flow by allowing a 60-day payment, and address the apparent inexperience at Circularity Scotland. Presiding Officer, I'll conclude with a quote from a small business in my own region. He said to me, Lorna Slater said a few days ago she wanted a scheme more ambitious than other nations. Her personal ambitions, her lack of knowledge, as well as her disconnect from the rest of the UK will harm the Scottish drinks industry. And he's right. This afternoon has made clear we all want deposit return to succeed. And throughout this afternoon, we've all highlighted the concerns and reiterated the solutions. If the Scottish Government is willing, we can still rescue deposit return. So at decision time tonight, I urge the Minister to put aside her personal ambition, to vote for the motion in Maurice Golden's name, and work with all of us to save this scheme before it is too late.